Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, I'm going to give you guys the best 10 brawlers since the balance changes hit on Tuesday. So it's been about 5 days. I've got a decent understanding of the meta. Not the best because, of course, I've been away on vacation, as you guys can probably tell by the recent videos. But I'm back. Full effort is here, and especially towards Christmas. There's just so much content to cover. And, of course, streams will be starting again probably Monday. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So this is actually going to be a top 11 because you'll see later on in the tier list, you know, there's a brawler that's came out that might be a bit too broken, but anyways, let's jump into it. So to begin with, we've got number 11, Max. So Max is a really good brawler in the meta, just really consistent, and because the meta itself, I would just say straight away, is pretty balanced. It was pretty hard to do this tier list because there's not anything really shining out except for one brawler. So Max is just really consistent, and these are the metas where she shines in. The hypercharge is the reason why she's so good. It just gives the ability to give your team a 3/4 super, which is absolutely insane. Of course, Max is super versatile as well, and in terms of tournaments that are going on in terms of pros, she's been played quite a lot and a decent win rate as well. So I think Max is a great brawler in this meta. So next up at number 10, we have Stu. So before we talk about Stu, let's take a look at the honorable mentions. So there's actually quite a lot of honorable mentions here. So we've got the likes of Daryl. Daryl's still a good late pick, but there's just other better late picks right now. We've got Byron, who's still pretty consistent, but I won't really say he's top 10 right now. Jean as well, good on knockout and bounty. Amber, really good in draft. Sandy as well, really good in draft. Otis and Gray. So those are a lot of honorable mentions. That's because the meta is very balanced. So now moving on to Stu. So I think Stu has dropped down the rankings quite a bit, might drop out of the top 10, mainly because there's so many tanks in the meta right now. We say that every single time, but because of the likes of Frank, for example, Ash, other brawlers in the meta, it's just making Stu a little bit harder to play, but he's still really, really good, and he's really versatile. His hypercharge has made him such a strong brawler, but again, it does depend on where you're located in the world. If you're living on the servers, so for example, if you're in Germany, then you're going to make good Stu plays, but a lot of other people won't really think Stu is good because it does require good internet. So yeah, Stu's still a good brawler in the meta bot. So next up at number 9, we have Lou. So I think he's been the biggest surprise in this meta. Instantly testing him out, you knew he was going to be a really good brawler. And, you know, he might not be a top 10 brawler in the future, but for now, he's very good. He's at least going to be in the A tier, in my opinion. So with Lou, he received a 15% reload speed buff, which is absolutely crazy. You can feel it straight away. You can just spam out shots like crazy. I know his main attack is still hard to hit, but you just have more chances of landing that main attack with this reload speed buff. It's really good, and of course he's got a hypercharge, which is already one of the best in the game. Of course, the biggest thing that's letting him down still is his super charge rate, but I just think with all of these tanks going on, you're seeing Lou pop up a lot of times in tournaments right now, and I just think he's one of the brawlers that you've got to keep on your good side in the meta. Again, I might be wrong with the top 10 prediction, but I really think Lou is a great brawler in this meta because of the reload speed buff. The next up was the 8th best brawler in the meta right now. I went with Angelo. So if you've seen the recent map pool changes, there's just so many water-based maps, making Angelo even better. You take a look at ranked, a lot of maps, Angelo is one of the best first picks on, so again, he's really excellent there. You can save over at brawlers like Juju and Eva, really good in the meta, but I just think Angelo does their job a bit better. You've got 4k damage being able to be dealt so easily. He's got 2 really good gadgets. His hypercharge takes a while to charge up, but it is pretty good. But again, it's just so annoying to face off against a good Angelo player, and even with the meta changing, I think it's even made him better, to be honest. But again, just make sure you're playing him on a water-based map because elsewhere it might get run down too easily. So next up at number 7, we have Penny. So Penny, again, is another brawler which isn't too toxic in this meta, and it can seem pretty easy to defeat her, but at the same time, she's just so good against everything. Like, you can play Penny pretty much everywhere. Biggest drawback still is her range, so just be careful on those longer range maps, but still, she's okay into everything. You know, there might be some counters, but then again, she has some really good matchups as well. You've seen the introduction of even the meta, and Penny's one of the best counters to her. And you've also got the hypercharge, which again, people don't think is crazy broken, but I think it's just really good for just overall zoning and just keeping the opponents back. She's got a good gadget to defend herself against tanks, and you can just never really go wrong with Penny. So really versatile brawler, and definitely in the top 10. So next up is the 6th best brawler in the game. We went with Ash. So this might be another hot take, but with Ash's recent hypercharge, I really think he's at least least an A tier brawler in the meta. The reason being is because it only takes 2 supers to get this hypercharge. I know he doesn't get any supercharge from taking damage, he hasn't got the tank trait, but he has received that buff. Also the other update where he gets more rage from damage taken. He also got a buff to Rotten Banana, which is pretty underrated gadget, but just overall it's because of the hypercharge, because 2 supers is just insane. You get a speed boost and you get a 25% shield on top of that, which is just crazy. You think a brawler like Ash just makes him so incredibly strong. You rewind back to like a year ago, the pros just knew how to abuse Ash as much as possible, and he was always a scary prospect, especially as a late pick. You just think Ash is just really good because he can counter some of his counters with his super, and because the hypercharge spawns 5 more rats, some of the matchups is just so insane. You can delete people with his super. It's so underrated. I think it's easily one of the most underrated brawlers in this meta. So now moving into the 5 best brawlers in the game. Starting off at number 5, it's Frank. So I know Frank received another nerf, but it was with power grab. It probably was a justifiable nerf, but I think the big thing is just his stats overall is still so overtuned. His damage, his HP, just the mechanic of winding up so incredibly fast when you're low in HP is just crazy. The hypercharge is so quick to charge up through taking damage himself. There's just so many broken things about him, and because as well the meta is shifting, so he's getting better. You think Clancy pretty much killed with the nerf, Mo pretty much killed, Kenji isn't really the best right now, so all of these brawlers that countered Frank just allows him to be just really good. I know Kenji probably wasn't the best counter swim, but you get what I mean. A lot of meta brawlers were nerfed, and just overall Frank is such a menace. You can play him pretty much anywhere as long as the opponents haven't got just some crazy big damage out there. I mean, I don't think any of the big damage dealers are right at the top of the meta right now, so just making him even better. The next up is the 4th best brawler in the game right now. I still went with Surge, so I know he received a 10% nerf to his HP, which of course makes him more counterable. I still just think he's so incredibly strong. It's just the damage output, the hypercharge is still so easy to charge, and again, he can just demolish people in the 1v1. He's just pretty brain dead. I don't know how they're going to go about nerfing Surge in the future, because again, you've got to be careful. We could make him one of the worst brawlers in the game again, but I just still feel like his stats are way too overtuned. Any grassy map, he's going to dominate his lane, and it's just a knockback combination with, you know, both gadgets are really strong as well. His unload speed is just crazy. He can just demolish people quicker than you can even look, so I just still think he's easily like near the S tier. So now moving into the 3rd best brawler in the game right now, we have Gus. So I know he's a support brawler, and most people won't pick up and play Gus and just completely dominate, but we're mainly talking about ranked here, where Gus is just such a good pick pretty much everywhere. He's probably the best gem carrier right now. He's one of the best options in knockout and bounty. You can play him in Brawl in the longer range maps. As long as you're not playing on a super bushy map, then Gus, you know, he's going to be good everywhere. And even on bushy maps, we saw Gus being really good because he still has a crazy amount of damage output. I just think the damage boost just was way too much, because you think his main attack is so easy to hit, so your damage output throughout the whole game is just going to be crazy. Again, he's got a super to knock back opponents. He's got his gadget that got the damage buff as well, which can just shred through people. I just think Gus is such a good brawler. But again, he's not going to be this brawler, you know, in the past where you've got Mo and Kenji where you can just brainlessly go in and delete everyone. He's just going to be good at everything. So it's a pretty balanced meta in that perspective, because if a brawler like Gus is at the top, then it's good for the game. Now moving into the 2nd best brawler in the game right now, I think it's Juju. So she's hands above, I think, pretty much all of this list. I think a lot of these things can be changed below Juju, but absolutely she's at the top, mainly because she's just so good at everything. So none of her modes in terms of the range, you know, the range is pretty toxic, but at the same time, it's not a lot of damage. You know, her main attack when just on normal land does some good damage, but again can be avoidable. The slow is really toxic, but it's very situational. But just all of these things combined, for a good player, it is just too much to face off against. And you've also got the fact that the pet just has so much HP. Against good players, it's not always going to hit, but it just needs that one hit to then slow them down with the star power, and then you can just cycle through pets like crazy. So I think Juju's just so many good things about her. Both gadgets are really good. You've got invisibility with a gadget, which again is crazy. Just so much going for her as a thrower. That makes her really versatile. Just so good into literally everything. And if it was to nerf her in the future, I'm hoping it's just like a HP nerf to her pet or supercharge rate. And then I think she'll actually be in a good spot. So I think easily she's the second best brawler in the game. Now jumping into the best brawler in the game, absolutely hands down, it is Buzz Lightyear. So I feel like Juju's the only brawler in the S tier, and then probably above is the S+++, and that's where Buzz Lightyear is. He's absolutely insane. So pretty much all of his modes are really good. Of course, Saber mode is the most broken by far. He can just win every single matchup. His unload speed is crazy. His damage is crazy. His gadget's really good to get up close, and then he's got a hyper charge on top of that. His super is so broken, but not back on top of that. It's just too much. Everything about Buzz is just absolutely dumb broken. He's by far the best brawler in the game, in my opinion, and he does need a nerf by now. I think give it a week, you know, literally in a few days' time, they should be looking at emergency nerfing him, because the health of the game, it's going to be terrible. I've just seen so many people complaining about Buzz, literally everywhere, Reddit, Twitter, wherever I go, YouTube comment section. People are just not playing the game, and they're just going to wait for a Buzz nerf. I mean, he is fun. I've enjoyed playing my time, but again, it's been a week. We're probably expecting that Buzz nerf pretty soon. Again, wing mode is really underrated and such a good ability to counter other Buzzes. And then laser mode is really good on the open maps. It's just, you can do 3 things in one Buzz. You know, there's 3 different modes for all different situations. How can he not be the best brawler in the game? So that's going to be it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. So again, you know, you could remove Buzz and do a top 10 like that. That's why I did 11. So, you know, Juju would be the best brawler in the game. But of course, everyone knows Buzz clearly the best. So that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.